The clone stamp tool is one of my favorite Photoshop tools. This allows us to take things out of an image that we don't want in there and change it quite a bit. So I use this all the time, and it takes a long time to learn. So there's a few basics that I'll show, and I'll try and give some tips on how to use it best, but it really just comes with practice after you learn the basics. So the clone stamp tool, it's actually S shortcut because C is crop. So it's right over here on the toolbar, right here, or S on the keyboard. Now it gives you a brush, and you can change the size of the brush just like any brush size in Photoshop by using the brackets, the left and right brackets, to make it smaller or bigger underneath the backspace button. I've got this random picture here, and it's got a big old pole right down the middle, obstructing the nice view of the mountains. So we are going to get rid of this, and it's got it side by side here, so that you can see what it looked like with it and without it after you're done with it. So on this left side, we are going to take this out using the clone stamp. So I like to get my brush a little bit bigger than, just slightly bigger than the object I'm taking out to start with. And the way this works is if you hold down the Alt key. Okay, I'm on the clone stamp tool. If I hold down Alt, it gives me the little crosshairs for a target of where I want to take from. I'm cloning something from the picture into another part of the picture. So I hold down Alt and I click anywhere in the sky, although this is the wrong way to do it, but let me just show you the concept. And then I click and drag over the top. Actually, that wasn't as bad as I wanted it to be. I'm going to start up here. Click and drag over the top of it, but look how bad that looks. Okay, one of the hardest things to clone is a gradient color. And so this sky, usually skies are difficult because they usually are gradient in some way. So it goes from a little bit darker up top to very light down close to the mountain. And even though I cloned part of the sky, I cloned the wrong part. Okay, so you got to be careful with that. Now I'm going to clone, if it's a sky, if it's a gradient, I'm going to clone right next to where I'm going to lay down that section, I guess. And so if I click here, hold down Alt, click, and I'm just going to move directly left over the top of this pole, and then I get the same colors of the sky moving down for that gradient. So I'm not going to go into the mountain much, if at all. And right there, pretty quick and easy, I've got a nice gradient that covers the pole. I just took it from right next to it, and it looks really good. And now it's not perfect. If I zoom in, I can see little bits that are a little bit lighter than they should be. Part of that, I'm just going to undo that, Control Z. Part of that is the softness or hardness of the edge. And so you have to be careful with that. I'm going to go about 85. If I go too soft, it makes it look a little blurry on the edges. If I go too hard, there's a hard edge when I clone it. In fact, let me show you that. If I'm let's see, completely hard on that edge, actually with that sky, that might not be a bad option. Well, anyway, it's it's good to have a little bit of a mix. Mostly soft on this, a little bit hard. I'll just show you one more time. See if that applied. Yep. I usually do about 80%-ish, somewhere around there for most things. But then there's some things that I want it more or less soft on the edge. Okay, well, that's good. I can show you the example better on the mountain. Anyway, on the mountain, I'm just going to hold down Alt, and click. And I'm just going to grab some part of this mountain, really anywhere. And I'm just going to start cloning that. Now, you don't want to clone too much all at once because it's a direct copy of what's over here. And so that will become apparent, especially if you're right next to it. You'll see things that are duplicated really easily. And so what I do is I kind of go back and clean that up a little bit. I take from here and get a little more snow in there. And now you can see those directly copied. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and just get some snow and clone one of those things out. And so there's some tricks to it like that. You don't want to do any direct cloning, well, too much of it, because then it looks exactly the same as what you had somewhere else. So I just kind of take parts here and there from different areas, and sometimes it looks a little weird to you because you just did it and you saw that pole before and you know it's fake. But to somebody who never saw it before, they'll never notice. So I'm just going to continue to clone down here. and get it all the way out. I'm going to take a little bit of this and extend that green patch. I'm going to take a little bit from over here and throw that in there so that I don't have any direct. See right here, you can see right there and there, it looks exactly the same. So I'm just going to take it from a different spot, clone that out, maybe even this, whoops, maybe even this area right here, and take that out. So there we go. Cloned out pretty easily. Now I've done this a million times, and so I could do that twice as fast as that and do it really nicely because I know the tricks of the brush sizes and where to take from and all of that. So it takes practice, but just practice those few things, changing the brush size, adding different parts from different areas to make it look really nice. Now if you want a challenge, you can try some other things. This dirt should be pretty easy. So I'm just going to take from another area and just get rid of that little stump down there. I could even get rid of this woman if I don't want her in there. And just start taking from different areas. And just start to clone her out. Now it gets really tricky when you get down here because there's not a lot. This is easy. Actually, the dirt and the grass is almost exactly the same. That I have to line up, that line right there. But when I get down to here, like especially right in here, there's hardly anything to work with, so I have to be really careful and go slow and make the brush smaller. So that's where it gets tricky, where there's not enough of that color or area that I want to clone in. There's just not very much of it, so I have to duplicate it multiple times. So that's where it gets tricky. But anyway, that's the clone stamp. Clone out the pole and you're good on that one, and we'll practice this a lot more.